medication managed.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Life is a journey, and the Doherty Family College will help you get where you want to go. Located downtown Minneapolis, this affordable 2-year college provides free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaches, one-on-one mentorship, and a Metro Transit pass, making DFC the perfect pathway to a bachelor's degree. Turn your dreams into reality. Connect with a counselor today at dfc.stthomas.edu.
In Minnesota, perinatal and postpartum mothers have legal protections to help keep them safe and healthy in the workplace. That means exclusions from heavy lifting, safe spots for breastfeeding, and more. The Women's Economic Security Act protects the rights of pregnant and postpartum women to work safely during pregnancy and to express breast milk at work. The Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry is here to help you and to protect your rights. Call 800-342-5354 or visit dli.mn.gov/new parents.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies overnight with a low around 68. Tuesday showers and thunderstorms with a high near 87. And Wednesday sunny with a high around 81. Victor's 1959 Cafe is now open for both dining room and outdoor patio seating. Victor's is an authentic taste of Cuban cuisine for any meal of the day. Open Wednesdays through Sundays from 9 a.m. to 2:30 with takeout still available. More at victors1959cafe.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakunjahade, Distant Thunder. My colonized name is Robert Pilot. Taxpayer name is Robert Pilot. And we discuss local and national Twin Cities news and events and Native events all over Turtle Island. And as you all know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. You know, this portion's brought to you by all the good people that sponsor us. So, hey, great to see you and the family this weekend, Lewis, at the powwow.
The powwow, yeah, home of fry bread, lemonade, and overpriced stuff. But it is what it is. You know, we had such a great time out there, and it was so good to see so many of friends and family members out there getting together at the powwow, and such a great time. Shout out to the Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux community holding such a good Wichipi out there, doing that good work. You know, all these prizes, getting drum groups like Northern Cree, and shout out to Mato Pajuta for doing that Lakota flag song in that good way. Hoka, man, that felt really good hearing that.
Great. It was great. It was good seeing you, and the swag that you had for me, and meeting your wife and your young son. And look at Wendy just showed up here from New York. She just got off the plane and she's here wanting to say a little hello.
Who, everybody. This portion of the show is brought to you by the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 Hotline. Call them at 651-304-9986. They're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
I have a new copy for you to read. I'll have to get during the commercial, get that for you. It sounds like you're out of breath. Were you running?
ran.
Yeah.
And I just got off the plane and somebody just dropped me off in front of the house. So here I am.
Wow. That's our daughter that dropped you off, didn't she? Or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Was
I was just
Jolene.
making sure.
Yes.
Hey, so Ogama's sick. Even though today, what was she on again? She was on another radio show supporting or talking about Line 3, Lewis.
Yeah, she was on Native Roots. She was on Native Roots. Yeah, she's on Native Roots Radio too. She was on Native American Calling. I apologize, Robert.
Yeah, with the big shooters, Winona LaDuke and Tara Hauska, and a representative from Line 3 too. So that will be interesting to hear. So Wendy, that's Lewis is doing the news. I met Lewis's family this weekend while you were in New York playing with a hurricane.
I was playing with a hurricane.
No.
My niece's baby shower was canceled because of Henry. So.
Oh, you know the hurricane by first name basis.
We're on first name basis. We are.
Hey, so let's go to Lewis with the news before.
All right. Yeah, let's get it going. First of all, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Lewis Eagle Thunder. I'm a citizen of the Rosebud Sioux Nation, the Sichango Lakota Oyate. Here to fill in for Ogama. We start today with a story from Salt Lake Tribune. Bodies of Paiute children believed to be buried on the site of former Utah indigenous boarding schools were found. Tribal leaders are asking for excavation so they can return these kids home where they belong. The bodies of Paiute children are likely buried below summer grasses at the site of an indigenous boarding school they were forced to attend in Pugwitch, Utah. Tribal leaders and history experts say. Exactly how many children lie under school grounds just north of the small southern Utah city, no one yet knows. Initial research indicates there could be at least 12 bodies in unmarked graves. Utah State University plans to apply ground-penetrating radar to the 150-acre site. Quote, what I know about this boarding school is that they would have came and they would have taken kids for labor, said Caringbo, chairwoman of the Paiute Indian Tribe of Utah. Paiute leaders say children ages 6 years and older were forced to work at a farm on the property. Quote, we were informed that there were bodies buried over there, said Bo, who had made several visits to former school grounds, but we are not sure until someone comes and verifies it. Oral accounts across several bands make up the Paiute Indian Tribe of Utah, which mostly populated the school out today, number about 800 members in Utah. Put the figure around a dozen. Stephen Lee, historic preservation officer of the city of Pugwitch, said that living there with relatives who worked at the school also provided the same estimate for bodies at the former farm campus. Lee began researching the boarding school and historical traumas associated with it about a year ago, and under a memorandum of understanding with the Paiute Indian Tribe of Utah and the Kaibab band of Paiutes near in Arizona. The university, which leases the land from the state, is organizing work through the anthropology department with the Paiute Indian Tribe of Utah. It plans a survey map to the grounds. Judson Finley, head of the anthropology department at USU, said the college will also excavate the site, but only if the tribe wants it done. Paiute leaders have indicated that they do intending to give the children buried proper cultural appropriate internment. The verification of bodies will be a grim find in Utah, which will operate an estimated 6 American nation boarding schools, including one of the largest in the country in Brigham City. The lesser known Pugwitch School, which operated from 1904 to 1909, will be the first in the state to confirm that children died and were buried on site. The findings came after more than 800 bodies were found earlier this year in the former residential schools of Indigenous children in Canada. Switching gears here, treaties, not tar sands, action currently taking place at the state capitol in Minnesota, which is where the water reflects the sky. That is what Minnesota means. But this action is taking place in St. Paul right now. And we've seen pictures of teepees out there already. Join Indigenous grandmothers from White Earth as they held ceremony space at the Minnesota State Capitol. The space will be open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day, with talking circles in the morning and afternoon to deepen knowledge and build community. Rotary Make-Up will create a powerful visual display of resistance in the space. Lunch will be offered each day. On August 25th at noon, join the Treaty People walk outside of Martin Luther King Rec Center between noon and 1 p.m., where they'll be having lunch. Then walk with them for the last 1.5 miles to the Capitol, arriving at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Also on August 25th at 2 p.m., all are invited to gather at the Minnesota State Capitol for a huge day of ceremony and solidarity in action in stopping Line 3. Since August 7th, water protectors have been traveling on foot 256 miles from Line 3 upstream Mississippi River, crossing into St. Paul. They will arrive at the 25th, and there will be a welcome ceremony. There will be a rally with speakers and food alongside electoral officials and community leaders. We will make ourselves heard. Some people may choose to hold space past 5 p.m. Please bring tents if that is something that you want to do. Also in news in the Twin Cities, First Independence Bank, mind you, a Black-owned and operated financial institution in Detroit, Michigan, is breaking ground in the Twin Cities. Quote, "This is a historic move for us. The first time that we have ventured outside of Detroit," said Kenneth Kelly, chairman and CEO of First Independence Bank. The first bank is expected to be opened up early November, and the former Wells Fargo district manager in Minneapolis South High School, Damon Jenkins, will serve as senior vice president. Lastly, Robert Reservation Dogs episode 4 of season 1 aired last night, and boy, was it a fun one. It hit so many crucial points about fatherhood. I'm not going to give away anything, but it also was co-written by Harding High School fame Bobby Wilson, and I think that that's going to be something interesting going forward here.
Yeah, awesome. We got a minute left, Lewis. Really, Peeny Geegies, thanks for sitting in for Ogama as usual. And I just give a quick roundup today. Nancy Beaulieu is going to check in and tell us more about the events at the Capitol in St. Paul with Rise Coalition. And of course, we'll have Dr. Stately talking about FDA's approval of Pfizer. And what does that mean? Or did I say the wrong word? Is it Pfizer or visor?
Pfizer, like an F.
I got a visor, a hat. Baseball cap. That's why my nose is all red because of the sun.
Yeah.
And it covered the planet because I got a big nose. All right. Hey, we'll be right back after this short break with Nancy Beaulieu of MN 350.
Stay with us.
In Minnesota, perinatal and postpartum mothers have legal protections to help keep them safe and healthy in the workplace. That means exclusions from heavy lifting, safe spots for breastfeeding, and more. The Women's Economic Security Act protects the rights of pregnant and postpartum women to work safely during pregnancy and to express breast milk at work. The Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry is here to help you and to protect your rights. Call 800-342-5354 or visit dli.mn.gov/new parents.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN 350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN 350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Life is a journey, and the Doherty Family College will help you get where you want to go. Located downtown Minneapolis, this affordable 2-year college provides free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaches, one-on-one mentorship, and a Metro Transit pass, making DFC the perfect pathway to a bachelor's degree. Turn your dreams into reality. Connect with a counselor today at dfc.stthomas.edu.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. It looks like we're still trying to get a hold of Nancy on the phone right now. Lewis, do you have any more news while we're waiting for that? It's pretty interesting, this whole situation with what's happening at the Capitol the next few days. Like you said, there's always already a teepee up there. What else do you know about that?
Yeah, and what they want to do is just invite everyone that's indigenous and not indigenous to gather in unity. As we know, Line 3, Line 5, and all Dakota Access Pipeline, all these pipelines affect us whether we are indigenous or not. That's why it's important to have a unified ground when we talk about solidarity around pipelines and oil pipelines. And I really hope and I'm encouraged that other politicians will come out and stand on the ground with us and say, you know, we are demanded to have a place for the seventh generation, a place for our children, clean water and clean air. This affects all of us, Robert. And that's why we talk about it on Native Roots Radio, because it's not only an indigenous issue, it is a people's issue.
Absolutely. Hey, we got Nancy Beaulieu of Bemidji, what is it? 350. Bemidji 350 and Rise Coalition. I had Wendy on mute and she was saying it over and over again. It's Bemidji 350. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time, and I had you on the radio. So welcome and speak your truth, Nancy.
Well, thanks for having me, and it's always a pleasure to hold space here on with you, Robert, and all the listeners out there. So, yeah, I'm calling in from Leech Lake up north here in northern Minnesota, where we are resisting the Line 3 and defending our treaties. And today we had some of our water protectors in Clearwater County. So the ask was for a continuance and that the charges be dismissed and that this case be moved into tribal court under the 1855 Treaty Authority Court. So we're kind of excited about setting the precedents and having established our own law and what it takes to not just protect the wild rice, but protect our law as well, because we know that the state of Minnesota is challenging our tribal court and our position here in northern Minnesota. So it's kind of disheartening that we continue to see the oppression on behalf of elected officials in the state that are supposed to, be entrusted to have the best interests of our people. And we obviously don't see that happening. So this is why we're showing up at the Capitol on Wednesday, Robert.
Can you talk a little bit more about the governor and the government of Minnesota stopping our own tribal courts or trying to stop our own tribal courts? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, what I do know is that the wild rice is being protected under the 1855 Treaty Authority. And because of that, we have the 1855 rights to the Menominee and the 1855 Treaty Court. And Frank Bebo, our attorney for this position that we're holding, is actually setting ground for establishing those laws being recognized by the state of Minnesota. And the DNR is being sued on behalf of the White Earth, the Menominee itself, and some plaintiffs like me that have been arrested in the Clearwater County area. And so, again, there's actually a hearing on this Wednesday, and we'll know more on how that is going to be played out. So there's not much more I can give you other than the fact that, of course, they're going to challenge us as they always do it and pretend that we don't exist or any law or any, we have a constitution too at Minnesota Chippewa Tribe, and we are a nation within a nation. And so we're going to continue to keep showing up and showing a powerful and peaceful resistance in regards to our treaties, because this is more than a pipeline, Robert. This is about asserting our treaty rights and making sure that all elected officials, local, state, and federal, abide by Article 6 of the United States Constitution, which state that treaties are supreme law of the land.
That's right. And we talk about that almost daily here on Native Roots Radio. That's a thing that we can't stop talking about. And when we tell our white allies, a lot of times the first time they hear the show or hear about that, they're really surprised and shocked. So I appreciate your news about that. Can you talk a little bit about the walkers? And they will be showing up Wednesday. The people that are led by Rise Coalition, and I know Joe Morales of MN 350. AIM member, American Indian Movement member, and also all around great guy, have been walking many, many miles. I know yesterday, or State Representative Mary Kunish and Representative Heather Keeler were walking with them. Can you tell our audience a little bit more about that walk?
Right. The treaty walk it's an extension of the Firelight Camp that held space out in the Enbridge work area out by the Mississippi near Poseida, Minnesota. And so it was our next step into the story that we're writing, because at Firelight Camp we are creating a story. We're writing a story together with our non-native treaty partners to show the rest of the world this is what honoring treaties looks like, and this is what it takes as treaty partners to make those treaties mean something. Because what we've seen in the past is so many administrations for hundreds of years ignore all of the treaties. But this country, the state wouldn't be recognized, they wouldn't be founded had they written those and agreed to those treaty with us. So the walk itself is a reminder to the Walsh administration that we're still here. It's also a shout out to the Biden administration to have him recognize and honor our treaty and to stop Line 3. So we are going to be there on Wednesday to welcome the walkers who are scheduled to be there Wednesday the 25th, which is this Wednesday at 2 p.m. So we're going to celebrate the walk and honor the walkers that really committed to making time to walk 256 miles. And Robert, It's been hot and it's been dry out. So I'm asking that all of our listeners, come to the Minnesota State Capitol on Wednesday and let's celebrate the walk and let's celebrate who we are and remind Walsh and the Biden administration that we're still here and that this Line 3 violates our way of life, our sacred food, and it's another act of genocide.
Hey, so there's somebody on Facebook here asked a question. Basically, what they're asking, Craig from Ho Chunk Nation and the Eagle Clan person and my uncle asked, are there any drives going on that they can support, bring up supplies back up to the water protectors before they go back up north? So is there any place to drop off stuff there, or do we just want to do it online, or how's that going? That's a good question.
Well, I know some of these people that are traveling this is maybe their only day traveling or their only way to get here. And if they want to bring stuff, I'm sure we can coordinate some people to help bring that up north here and distribute it to the camps. I'm driving a Tahoe. There's going to be plenty of room, and we would be more than willing to accept some donations at the Capitol this week, and we'll find a good way to make sure that we bring it up north and we share it in a good way.
Wow, that's good to know. I wasn't sure.
It is good to know. Nancy, do you have any idea off the top of your head what kind of things that you might want or need?
Well, honestly, I think, moving into the into winter, I think some of the stuff might be some fall gear for some of the people that will be hanging out at Camp McGizzy up in the Red Lake Treaty Camp. We got the Monoman Protector Camp in White Earth. So probably some, the long underwear type stuff, and maybe a couple sleeping bags. And what's always helpful is gas cards. And I know, not a lot of people have money, but sometimes if they're going to buy things that are really helpful, they might as well as buy gas cards, because it takes a little junior money to get to some of the event places and some of the hearings that we need to attend. And gas is always a good support.
Wow, this has been a really good conversation, because I think this was far away from my idea.
I would not have any idea, because it's 90 degrees today, and thinking about fall gear would be the furthest thing from my mind.
Well, schlepping stuff up north was, yeah, it is. It's the schlepping stuff up north. I didn't think would be in the jam, but it is.
Yeah, being up north here is, like the other day, it was quite cold. So one day it could be summer and the next day it could be winter. But time marches on and things go really fast. And before we know it, Robert, we're going to be talking next week about how beautiful the week at the Capitol is going to be,
Right.
And so I'm looking forward to rallying up with our relatives across Turtle Island, our treaty partners, and I would hope, the Walsh administration, especially his Executive Order 19-24, will come into play, and that, they really understand the need to consult with the tribes, because failure to consult is not consent, and we never had the free, prior, and informed consent in the first place, and there is no environmental impact study. So this is a call to say, hey, you still have time to undo this,
Right.
and look into the next elections here. Those are coming fast too. We need to consider about how we hold ourselves to these candidates that said they were here to be our voices, and right now we're not seeing that with the Walsh administration.
Wow. Hey, we got a minute left. Let's give a quick shout out to what's happening this week and how we can support you and all the water protectors.
Right. You can follow the treaty walk. Let me see. I probably should take a look before I say it out loud and mess people up. But there is a web page for all that, and I want people to know that they can go there and find out exactly where they can get the information. Oh, now it's not going to let me open up to my internet. I don't know. Oh, here it is. It's the Treaty Not Tar Sands, and you could follow that at treatiesnottarsands.com. treatiesnottarsands.com, and it'll give you an overview of the event itself from all the days that we're there. Today they started with the art build and setting up 17 teepees, so they're setting the stage, and then tomorrow is kind of like a soft opening, and then Wednesday is the rally. On Thursday we have a healing dance, the jingle dress, and we have our grandmas from the White Earth Need Center holding that space for us.
We'll see you there.
Right. So everyone, we expect to see you there, and water is life, and treaties do matter, and we're still here.
Do yourself a favor and check out the amazing cuisine of eatlocalminnesota.com. More than just a website, eatlocalminnesota.com provides you with the best local and independently owned restaurants in the Twin Cities.
Cafe Latte combines a cafe dining experience with gourmet quality food. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout along with gift cards. Just go to cafelatte.com and choose from their ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soups. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand and online at cafelatte.com. Victor's 1959 Cafe on Grand Avenue in South Minneapolis is a little piece of Cuba right in South Minneapolis. It's an authentic taste of Cuban cuisine for any meal of the day. Favorites include the ropa vieja, sweet plantain omelet, seafood paella, and more. Victor's has both their dining room and tropical patio open with no reservations required. Located off of 38th and Grand. More at victors1959cafe.com.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Fine dining, walking paths, gardens, and green space. The sound of children playing. Groups gathered to sing and paint. Prayer groups and water aerobics classes. Those are the sights and sounds that greet you at Episcopal Homes Assisted Living. Located close to Highway 280 and University Avenue, this charming community offers studio, 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. Services to help you get through your day are provided by a compassionate care team who get to know you, what you like, and your routines, just like a second family. Stay as busy as you like attending art or exercise classes, take in live performances or a movie at the theater, gather with friends at the bistro or pub, head outside and read to the children from the on-site childcare. Episcopal Homes Assisted Living also offers memory care with specialized activities and support for those impacted by memory loss. Part of a continuum of care, Episcopal Homes has proudly been serving older adults for over 125 years. Check out episcopalhomes.org for more information.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me one. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
Hi, Minneapolis. This is Randy Rhodes. Listen to me. Weeknights, 10 to midnight, AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Unwanted sexting or photos, inappropriate jokes, even tickling or wrestling can feel like a violation. Catcalling, cornering, or groping, getting them drunk or high for sex, recording sexual acts without permission, hurting someone because of their sexual orientation, raping a family member, a child, a date, a friend, a stranger, purchasing a human being for sex. You make the choice every single time. Sexual violence is many things. Make a choice. Do not do it.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies overnight with a low around 68. Tuesday showers and thunderstorms with a high near 87. And Wednesday sunny with a high around 81. Victor's 1959 Cafe is now open for both dining room and outdoor patio seating. Victor's is an authentic taste of Cuban cuisine for any meal of the day. Open Wednesdays through Sundays from 9 a.m. to 2:30 with takeout still available. More at victors1959cafe.com.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
We are the Elusive Nation.
Hey, welcome back. Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the American Indian Cancer Foundation and the Native American Community Clinic. They are hosting a vaccine event on Friday, September 10th from 3 to 6 p.m.
Wow, you haven't missed a beat there, Wendy. Wendy, welcome back. You've been gone for 5 days, and sorry, the house is a mess, and the Keelers overflowed, but it's great to have you back. And
I walked in the back door and sat in the front door and just sat down, and here I am on the
You know,
radio.
Wendy, I was expecting you to come back with a thicker
No,
accent, and that didn't happen.
My accent is very, did you hear me say schlep? It's very, I've been surrounded by New York the past week, so
plus a hurricane.
plus a Hurricane Henry.
Yeah, right.
Also, it's a great homecoming for you. And then we
Yeah.
also have a Monday show with Dr. Stately.
Absolutely, my favorite day of the week with
and
Dr.
there's-
Stately.
And there's so much stuff going on right now.
There
with,
is.
I always want to say Pfizer, but it's Pfizer.
Pfizer, like an F, but it's spelt with a P.
Right.
But it's F.
Hey,
Yes.
welcome, Dr. Stately. Dr. Stately is the CEO at the Native American Community Clinic, and we are always really happy to have you on, Dr. Stately.
Good evening. Welcome home, Wendy.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. This morning I got a notice, a bing bing on my phone that said the Pfizer vaccine was finally approved by the FDA for 16 and older. And that New York City, all New York City employees, at first they had a choice. They had to get vaccinated, or if they were not getting vaccinated, they had to go in every single week and get a PCR test to see if they had COVID or not. But now that has changed. The mandate has spoken. They have to all get vaccinated.
Yeah, it's a little bit, I think it's, first of all, it's great that we've gotten this far. It's awesome that we have a vaccine now that is authorized by the FDA for full usage for 16 and above. Still got some work to do, I think, on analyzing and looking at preliminary data for 12 and above. And of course, we still are looking for some protection for our younger ones. And I think that will probably come a little bit later down the pike. But I'm hoping that this is a significant game changer for us in lots of areas, that more jurisdictions and organizations, and particularly in healthcare and education, where kids are going to school and a few other places, will step up and now require their employees to get vaccinated since it's fully approved. So yeah, that would be awesome. I think it's going to help with moving us in a good direction, I hope, you know.
Wendy, we have a niece and her husband are teachers out there, and I don't know if you mentioned this, but about their process of being vaccinated or not being vaccinated. Can you remind our audience about that?
My niece actually right now, she's pregnant, so she's really leery about the vaccine, and I could kind of have empathy for her. She had a really hard time getting pregnant, and she had IVF and, in vitro, and it was just months and months of, hormone shots and all these chemicals in her body. And she's just a little bit leery about it. She just had her Tdap vaccine, and now she has to wait like 3 weeks to even consider the COVID vaccine. But her husband is vaccinated, and they both came to the conclusion that, once the baby is born, they really don't want people who are not vaccinated to be around the baby. So I think that kind of gave him incentive also to get vaccinated.
But being a New York teacher is what I was getting at.
Yeah. I mean, they have to get vaccinated.
Or they pay for the testing.
That's not a choice anymore. You have to get vaccinated.
Oh, okay.
Getting the test every week is not even on the table anymore.
Wow.
The vaccine is mandated.
Wow, that was quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that, that's consistent with how we sort of understand people in these kinds of services. So like in healthcare and education and folks where you're in like, they call it high touch positions and contact positions with the public, where you're sort of required to get all these other kinds of vaccines, right? The MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella, right? We all have to do those things. We got to get our we got to get other vaccines, and we also have to get a TB test every single year if we're in healthcare to make sure that we're okay, right? This is all part of consistently taking care of other people and being in that field of work, whether you're delivering healthcare or education or other care services. It's now it should move the needle in a good direction, and quite frankly, those are areas where where we must do a better job of protecting people who are very vulnerable. So if we work in those areas, that's absolutely. It'll be interesting to see what happens with, whether or not folks are willing to be more likely to get vaccinated. I've had conversations with people, and some of my most robust resistors in my family have all said, well, when it gets approved, I'll take it. So we'll see.
Okay, that's good. Maybe, the vaccination rate has gone up.
Right.
And hopefully now that the Pfizer vaccine is approved, it will even go higher. And then once Moderna and Johnson & Johnson are, that'll even go, more people will get vaccinated.
That would be nice. That would be a nice thing to see.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited too, and I know we talked about this last week. We talked a little bit about the booster too, so I'm excited.
We're due in September. I'll be the first one online. No, actually November. I think we're due 8 months after. Is it I don't know if it's after the first vaccine or the second one.
Second one, I heard.
We're due in November sometime, so I will be the first one online. Guaranteed it.
Awesome.
I will. I want to get my
absolutely right. You can get that shot at NACC. So,
yeah. Hey. So
I'll come there to get it.
Right on. So, Moderna, that's what we got. So we're waiting for that to be FDA approved next. That should be really soon too, right?
Yes. I think it's likely to happen. They kind of like when they originally received approval, they were just months apart with emergency authorization. I have to admit that I haven't been keeping track of like the scientific sort of like review process going on with the FDA for Moderna as much as I'm paying attention to other things. But that's the hope. The hope is I think the more we can kind of get all 3 of the vaccines fully FDA approved. We just have more in our arsenal to sort of like fight this particular virus, which is now has a Delta variant. The Delta variant is considered to be the predominant strain of COVID-19 infection in the United States. Certainly is true of the state of Minnesota as well. And it is particularly virulent, which means it's easily transmissible, twice as transmissible as the other one. And very, very, if you're unvaccinated or likely to get very ill, possibly even die from it. So just we need to move them. Go ahead.
What would you say to people who say, I think the vaccine should be an individual decision?
Well, I've had some conversations with folks about that, and I think that, when we live in a society and where there's a lot of folks who are dependent on your choices, so more vulnerable people are dependent on the outcomes of your choices. I think I think it's just a good thing as a human being to think about your personal choice and the impact it has on others. So I would, I've had people in my family who've said things like, well, or even people in my social circle who've said like, well, I think it's my choice. I'm like, absolutely is your choice to get it or not. Nobody can force you to do this right now. And it is your choice, but that choice comes with some other responsibilities, right? It also comes with consequences. So like if you choose not to get it and you happen to work in healthcare and it's a requirement, then it sounds like you're choosing also to get a different career. And if you're, right? It's kind of like, so people, I think Americans and folks, we struggle with this idea of like, well, I want to have personal choice, right? And they want to have control over their choices and all those other things. Well, you can have personal choice, but when your personal choice also impacts others and the people around you, and is in direct conflict with some of the other things that are requirements of us, it's, you're also making a choice to sort of be excluded from some things. I think that's, this is nothing new in our society. We've had these challenges and these problems before, right? And we've been able to find ways to overcome them. And I think this is just another thing we have to sort of kind of deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I know a lot of my born again Christians and Christians out there have been looking for a miracle. And I'm telling you, these vaccines are a miracle. That's the God and Creator has brought us these vaccines, and I just feel like it's so skewed, Wendy.
Mm-hmm. I talked to my niece too about the German measles. My mother was actually pregnant with my sister, and at 5 months pregnant in 1964, and she got the German measles, and that was very, very scary at that time. I think I talked about this before, but the German measles was eradicated through vaccination, not through herd immunity. And that's what we have to understand. People in their 30s have never heard of the German measles. When I mentioned it to my niece, she was like, "What's that?" And I said, "Exactly."
Yeah.
There you go.
I said that to one of my relatives. I was like, "Hey, did you hear about all those people that got sick and died from the German measles?" And she was like, "No." And I was like, "Exactly. That was because we have a vaccine. Very effective."
Wow. Hey, can you stay with for another segment, Dr. Stately?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and it's Wendy Pilot's Welcome Back show.
Stay with us.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
If you're hurting in your relationship or have been affected by sexual violence, you're not alone. Strong Hearts Native Helpline can help you through these difficult and uncertain times. Strong Hearts Helpline is a free 24/7 confidential domestic dating and sexual violence helpline for Native Americans. Help is available by calling 1-844-762-8483 or by clicking on the Chat Now icon on strongheartshelpline.org. This message is sponsored by the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center.
If the statistics say that 1 in 3 Native women and 1 in 6 Native men have experienced sexual assault in their lifetime, it means our whole community is affected by sexual violence. 1 is too many. Don't stand by, stand up. Don't engage in acts of sexual violence and shut down the dirty jokes, the gossip, the victim blaming and shaming. As a community, we can change the way we respond. Contact the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition to attend a workshop to learn more. Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, welcome back, Native Roots Radio. Welcome back, Wendy, to
Thank you.
Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hare.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the American Indian Cancer Foundation and the the Native American Community Clinic. Sorry about that.
A little rusty.
Yeah, I am very rusty. I've been away for 5 days. They are hosting a vaccine event on Friday, September 10th from 3 to 6 p.m. And this portion of the show is also brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations. I am very rusty. Wow.
Yeah.
I've had 5 days off. So,
Plus,
I just got off the plane, literally.
I know. And what do you do when you're on a plane, Wendy?
I drink wine.
Yeah.
You drink wine?
Just a little bit.
Just a little.
Well, you know what?
It's only a 2-hour flight.
It was a three-hour flight, and there was the remnants of Henry the hurricane.
Yeah.
And before we got on the plane, the pilot got on and said it's going to be really rough weather. So I don't even know if I'm going to be able to take the.
So he's like, everyone get lit up.
Maybe your last drink.
Wine and relax. So that's what I
Right.
did. I listened to the pilot. What can I say?
Yeah. Hey, we're back here with Dr. Stately, and we're talking FDA approval and miracles, which happen to be the Pfizer and the J&J and what?
The J&J and the Moderna are not approved yet, but
No,
they
but
will
they're
be
miracles.
soon. They are very
They're
miracles. They are
That's
miracles.
what I said. They're miracles. Okay.
I do have a question, Robert.
Right on.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, Dr. Stately, we have had some conversation within the last week on Native Roots Radio talking about mRNA technology and how fast it's kind of been improving things like getting vaccines, but also on the front of HIV, the AIDS epidemic as well. And I was wondering if you could talk about kind of the technology of mRNA and how it's completely different, because I grew up in around 80s, 90s, and as well as everyone here and those listening, and we remember how scary HIV and AIDS was and how it perpetrated a lot of negative stereotypes and prejudice among certain communities. When we think about mRNA today, what do we have today that we didn't have in the 90s?
Well, for sure, I will tell you that I was there. I'm there. I was I lived through the 80s and the 90s, and I was living in Los Angeles at that time too. So I was like smack dab in one of the epicenters of the HIV pandemic when it was going on, and of course it was scary times and things like that. And we didn't have we had a lot of the more progressive technologies than we did now. And by the way, I should say, I mean, I don't know how many people know this or not, but Dr. Fauci is really kind of credited with sort of like advancing significantly, our nation's ability to respond to the HIV epidemic, right? He wasn't the person that found the vaccine, but he had an instrumental role in trying and moving our capacity as a country to sort of respond and deliver treatments for HIV that were really critical and really, really important. I just kind of like, so when I think about like what we have today, 50 years later, and that's about how long it's been since almost 40 some years since HIV sort of was first kind of like emerged as a worldwide pandemic that moved very rapidly, much like coronavirus did, is we have a lot more information and a lot more knowledge about like how to develop effective treatments and vaccines for these things. In fact, there is discussion at the national level and the international level that the technology used to identify and be able to move and fast track the vaccination process for COVID-19, the mRNA technology, that it is so cutting edge, and it's it's actually not something new per se in the sense that we've been working on this for 30 years or so. The advancement of technology. I want to remind people, if you're 50-ish or 40, late 40s, early 50s, like remember when you were a teenager, you didn't make phone calls on your cell phone, and you didn't get on your computer to send emails and sort of kind of communicate via the internet, right? And back then, computers were the size of houses, right? Now they are the size of chips that can fit inside your iWatch. So we have advanced technologically as a society in leaps and bounds within the span of 20, 30 years. I read this article that talked about like the rate at which we have grown and in leaps and bounds in terms of what we know and how technologically we are advanced is the equivalent of, over the last 10 years, we've grown about how much the entire world would have grown since man came out of the cave and then discovered the locomotive or something like that. That's how much work we've done over the last couple of years. And so it's really informative, and it's also really telling. And I think it speaks to a little bit of the trust that people can have in this vaccination development process. They now believe that because of this mRNA technology and the work we've been able to do on the vaccination for COVID, that we're likely to find a vaccination for HIV within the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, we heard that.
That is amazing, actually.
It's unbelievable. I just retired. My last 14 years of my career, I worked in the infectious diseases clinic at the University of Minnesota, and I was the HIV pharmacist there. And even in those past 14 years, I saw leaps and bounds. So when I first started, people had to be on 3 or 4 medications that gave them bad side effects. They had nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. It was really hard to keep people on their medications every day. Now, people take 1 pill once a day. The medications are so advanced, they have little to no side effects at all. And once a person is undetectable, they cannot transmit HIV. And that's how far we have come. It is unbelievable. And it is a miracle.
Yeah, it is. And I got to just say, Dr. Stately, I don't remember the 70s, so that's good that you didn't bring those up, because that was a good era for me. But 80s and 90s, I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was the era of disco.
I was always thinking by the time I retired, there would be a cure for HIV, but not a cure right now. But
I think, I think we're far from figuring out cures, so to speak. So like once you actually get HIV, the cure for it. But we are probably really close to figuring out like how to prevent it from transmitting from one human being to another. So a vaccination that's successful.
And I just
Right.
I feel like this is really important for people who are listening out there. If you do not have HIV and you are, you do have risky behavior that might give you HIV, there's a pill that you can take once per day that will help you not get HIV. And I think it's so important for people to understand that you can take one pill once a day.
It's called PrEP, right?
PrEP,
preventative prophylaxis. And I think, and it's very effective. It has, 99.9% effectiveness. I will tell you, I don't talk about this personally a whole lot, but I will tell you right now, I've been living with HIV for 32 years. I tested positive in 1990. I went through that process. I had to take all of the experimental drugs, which made me sick, and I didn't want to take them. And so, in 95, 96, when they came up with some of the more advanced drugs, I benefited from some of those early drug cocktails, they call them, like, where they mixed a bunch of different things together and came up with an effective solution. And it was challenging. I had lots of friends who didn't have benefit from that. We all I have lots of people I lost to that process. When COVID happened and I was actually in the hospital, it reminded me of this. I was like, oh my God, this is a lot like that experience. And I prayed and I prayed and I prayed that, we'd come up with a solution faster than we did for HIV, because, it's 50, almost 50 years and we're still dealing with that beast.
I really appreciate you sharing that with our audience. I really do.
And we're going just a little longer on Facebook Live. You've listened to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and Peony Gigi, Dr. Stately, for all you do and all the information you bring to us. Shout out to Lewis for doing the news. We're still here. We are the seventh generation.
Free Leonard Peltier.
This is Greg, host of Ghostbox Radio. Create a pathway for connection and enlightenment in your life with Collective Dimension.